Do you get the heebie-jeebies when people disappear without a trace? I know I do. So I thought I'd bring us a list of some mysterious disappearances to creep us all out. Hope you enjoy. Number 10. Marlborough. The Marlborough was a ship that traveled between Britain and New Zealand. In January 1890, it set sail from New Zealand with 33 crew members on board. After its departure, it disappeared without a trace, only to be found by another ship 23 years later in Puerto Arenas, Chile. When crew boarded the ghost ship, they found about 20 skeletons in odd places. One was crushed under the wheel, 6 were on the bridge. The ladder below the deck had 3 bodies, and 10 were found in the mess hall, which is the cafeteria of the ship. What was strange was there was no evidence to support foul play, and they must have all died at once in the mess hall, because you wouldn't want to sit next to a dead body, would you, while you're eating? The placement of the bodies by the hallway ladder makes it seem as if they were running away from something. And the placement of the rest of the bodies suggests that they more than likely weren't overrun by pirates, because they would have been rounded up and killed instead of just left lying around the ship. So, the question remains, how did these people die? And why did it take so long for the ship to be found? Number 9. Bobby Dunbar. On August 23rd, 1912, 4-year-old Bobby Dunbar vanished while fishing near Swayze Lake in St. Landry Parish, Louisiana. 8 months later, Bobby was reported found and in the custody of William Cantwell Walters. Walters was then arrested for kidnapping, and Bobby was returned home. But then a woman named Julia Anderson came forward and said that Bobby Dunbar was actually her son, Charlie Bruce Anderson. But because she could not positively identify him at first when she saw him, and also she was slandered by the newspapers because she had 3 children out of wedlock. So because of this, no action was taken. Although in 2004, DNA testing proved that Bobby Dunbar wasn't the real Bobby Dunbar. As of today, the fate of the real Bobby Dunbar is unknown. Number 8. Ray Carr. Ray Carr was the district attorney for Center County, Pennsylvania. And on April 15, 2005, Carr took the day off to travel to Lewisburg. I was never seen again. His car was found abandoned in a parking lot. And although Carr was not a smoker, authorities discovered cigarette ashes in the car and a faint odor of smoke. His laptop was actually found months later when it was discovered in the Susquehanna River. But the hard drive had been removed and extremely damaged beyond repair. But 4 years later, the police actually revealed that Carr's home computer had web searches on it on how to destroy a hard drive. So to this day, he's still missing. Number 7. Disappearing hippies. In 1971, Stonehenge was not protected from the public yet. So on one August night, some hippies decided to camp out in Stonehenge. They made a fire, smoked some pot, and, got in a drum circle and sang. Regular hippie stuff. But then, around 2 a.m., there was a severe thunderstorm that interrupted them. Lightning struck down, even hitting the stones. And the 2 witnesses said that Stonehenge lit up blue and was too intense to see. They heard screaming, but when they went to check on them, they were gone. All that remained was the dead campfire and singed tent poles. Number 6. Disappearing village. What's scarier than a person disappearing? How about an entire village disappearing? And that's what happened in November 1930. A fur trapper named Joe LaBelle had made his way to the village on the shores of Lake Angikuni. It was a place where he knew there was at least 2,000 villagers, but when he arrived, there was no one to be seen. Everything was abandoned. Food was still cooking, and when they investigated, they found no footprints, and all of the sled dogs were buried under a 12-foot snowdrift. The last spooky clue was that all of the ancestral graves were empty. Number 5. World War I battalion disappears. There was an incident in Suvla Bay, Turkey in 1915 during the Gallipoli campaign of World War I, where 3 soldiers claimed that they watched as a battalion of the Royal Norfolk Regiment marched up a hillside. Now this hill had a low-lying cloud that the soldiers went into, but after the last of the battalion had entered the cloud, it slowly lifted up, and they were gone. Number 4. The Springfield III. The The Springfield III is the disappearing of Cheryl Levitt, Susie Streeter, and Stacy McCall, who vanished on June 7th, 1992 from their home. Now, Streeter and McCall were last seen at 2 a.m. at a friend's graduation party, and Levitt was last heard from at 11 p.m. June 6th. Now, when the police investigated the house, there was no sign of a struggle. The TV was left on, nothing was stolen, and the only thing broken was the porch light. So there was no other clues to suggest what happened to the three women. They just simply disappeared, and they've never been seen since. Number 3, the Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste was a ship that was discovered on December 4th, 1872, completely abandoned after setting sail only a month before. What was strange was that the ship was still in good condition, so it appeared as if there was no reason to abandon the ship. The only thing missing was the only lifeboat. Everyone's things were left behind still, and all the papers were gone, except for the captain's logbook. There were stories of half-eaten food and warm cups of tea left behind. These were seen as fabricated, but the fact remains that the boat was evacuated quickly with no signs of violence or struggle. Many theories arose, such as piracy, insurance fraud, seaquake, or other phenomena, ergotism from contaminated flour causing the crew to go mad, to the Bermuda Triangle sucking them up, to even extraterrestrial beings abducting them. One thing's for sure, we shall never know what actually happened to the crew of Mary Celeste. Number 2, Amelia Earhart. We get to our number 2, probably the most famous appearance of all time, Amelia Earhart. Now, Earhart was the first female to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. She helped create the Female Pilot Organization in the 1990s, as well as writing many best-selling books about her flying trips. But what she is perhaps most famous for is her disappearance, July 2nd, 1937, as she was attempting to circumnavigate the globe. She and one of her friends, Fred Noonan, departed from Lae, New Guinea, trying to get to Howland Island, which was about 2,556 miles away, but they never did reach the island. The most obvious explanation about what happened to her is that her plane just simply ran out of fuel and they crashed and they sank. But there are more fantastic theories, which are far more exciting, which range from them being spies and that they were actually captured and executed by the Japanese, to her flying through a rip in the fabric of space and time. One thing's for sure though, the mystery of what actually happened to Amelia Earhart is one I don't think we'll ever know. And finally, number 1, Frederick Valentine. Frederick Valentine was a pilot who on October 21st, 1978 was on his way to King Island in Australia. Now I'm going to stop here and I'm going to play the actual clip of his correspondence with air traffic control.
Seems to be a large aircraft below 5,000 feet.
What type of aircraft is it?
I cannot confirm. It's 4 bright, seems to me like landing lights. The aircraft has just passed over me at least 1,000 feet above. Is there any Air Force aircraft in the vicinity?
No known aircraft in the vicinity.
Seems to be playing some sort of game. He's flying over me. Delta Sierra Juliet, it's not an aircraft, it's...
Can you describe the aircraft?
As it's flying past, it's a long shape. Cannot identify it. It has such speed. It's before me right now, Melbourne.
How large would the object be?
Seems like it's stationary. What it's doing right now is orbiting. The thing is just orbiting on top of me. It's also got a green light and a sort of metallic, like, it's shiny on the outside. It's just vanished. That strange aircraft's hovering on top of me again. It's hovering and it's not an aircraft.
And he was never seen again. He's gone.